Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti. This evening's topic is a general overview of PURA and exactly what the organization does. With me to discuss this evening's topic is Taren O'Connor, who's the Communications Director for PURA. Ms. O'Connor, welcome.
Nice to see you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming down. It's been a while since we've seen each other.
It's always nice to come visit.
It's always nice to see you. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and how long you've been with PURA.
Sure. So I've been with the authority since January of 2020.
Okay.
And my title is Director of Legislation, Regulations, and Communications.
Okay.
So I deal with all things having to do with government affairs and communications materials that we push out to folks, and we hope to do a lot of public education around who we are and what we're responsible for. And so thank you for having me tonight.
Thank you. So, well, okay, let's start with the obvious question. What is PURA and what exactly do you guys do?
That's a great question. So PURA stands for the Public Utilities Regulatory Authority. We are statutorily created. We're a creature of the legislature.
Okay.
And we regulate investor-owned public utility companies in the state of Connecticut.
Okay.
So think your electric company, gas company, water. We do not regulate municipally owned utility companies.
Gotcha.
That sometimes tricks people, but we are not in charge of them. We don't have any authority over those companies.
Okay.
We also oversee gas pipeline safety. We oversee the federal Call Before You Dig program, and really, rates that utility companies charge customers.
Right.
And we ensure safe and reliable services are provided to the ratepayers of Connecticut.
So I'm sure you guys were involved with the whole UI issue recently that was in
Yes.
that was in the newspaper.
That's right.
Okay.
Yep.
And let's talk a little bit about regulated activities.
Yeah. So this, and I won't read through them, but
Okay.
this kind of gives you an idea of what we have authority over and what we have jurisdiction over. So, I mean, at any given time, we do all of our work through a docket or through a case or proceeding.
Yeah.
And we have, 85 to 100 open proceedings at any given time. So we are busy, and we have a staff of about 70 people.
Wow.
Experts. We have technical experts, engineers, attorneys, and other staff that work very hard to do all of these things. And really, just at the end of the day, we answer to the legislature. So, most legislative sessions end with the authority walking away with at least a handful of homework assignments from the legislature, and so that adds to the work that we do and enhances, our mission as well. So.
And what is the mission of the organization?
Really to provide safe and reliable service and ensure that rates that are being charged to customers are fair. Rate cases that's our big bread and butter, so to speak, where it's all hands on deck, and those are, because that's determining what these companies are allowed to charge.
Right.
So that's important.
So if your local utility wants to do a rate increase, they've got to come in front of you guys first.
Exactly. So they would have to come before the authority and ask for a certain amount, to keep it very simple, and then we have a certain window of time to complete that rate case, and they always have the legal opportunity to appeal, but that's the process.
And as far as the process goes, how long does it take? Usually a couple Or does it depend on what they're asking for?
Actually, in the last legislative session, the timeline grew a little bit. So we have 350 days to complete an electric rate case.
Wow.
Yeah, and it takes all of those days. Yes, it's a hefty process.
What is the process?
Well, the beginning is really a lot of fact finding.
Okay.
So we pose a lot of interrogatories to the company, and then we go into, and I mean like hundreds, and
right.
And then we go into our hearing process, and that can last depending on what's before us in the record. But we're really trying to build that record. No matter what proceeding is before us or what we're working on, we cannot make a decision based on anything other than what's in the record. So all the meetings are public.
Okay.
And at the end of the case, the three PURA commissioners vote on every case. We have a regular meeting every Wednesday at 10.
Okay.
And that's where the commissioners vote on the cases before us, and that's where the decision is made.
Now, who are the PURA commissioners?
So Marissa Gillette is our chairman.
Okay.
Vice chairman is Jack Betkowski.
Okay.
And our third commissioner is Michael Karen.
Okay.
Yeah.
And obviously, they all work well together, and you know most of them. Probably know all of them.
Yes. Yeah. I'm lucky enough to work very closely with all of them, and they are very conscientious and do a lot of good work.
Yeah. Now, can people testify?
Yeah, that's actually a really great question. So one of the biggest points that I like to try and make, and I know the commissioners do too, is just to let the general public know how incredibly important it is and how impactful it is when they do become involved in a docket. And there are different levels of involvement that folks can kind of pick a lane. They could write in a comment and submit it via email. They can show up at a public hearing and speak to an issue on the record. No matter how they choose to submit their thoughts or concerns or opinions,
right.
It's all part of the formal and public record. Everything gets looked at, everything gets considered, and it really, really does make a big difference.
Now, are your hearings virtual or are they in person?
So right now we have a little bit of a mix. Most of them are virtual, but our rate case hearings are currently in person. Not all of them, but most of them, depending on what the hearing is. But we made a pretty smooth transition during COVID, and we had a lot of big things before us, including Tropical Storm Isaias and that investigation. And it seems to be working fine. We didn't really hit any bumps. We just switched over to virtual, and I actually think it's helped the general public and some other people have an ease to participate, because sometimes it's easier to hop on your computer and
log in,
listen in and give a statement, versus physically coming to the building. But we are, we'll see what happens in the next coming months.
Absolutely. Now, your hearings, if they're in person, are they at the Capitol, or are they your offices?
No, so we have 3 hearing rooms in our building in New Britain.
Okay.
And that's where we hold all of the PURA hearings.
It. Okay.
Yep. And we have the court reporter there, and everything is, transcribed, and as I said, on the record as part of whichever case is before us.
Right. For some reason, I was under the impression that you guys were at the Capitol. You guys were in Hartford, but obviously I was wrong.
Yeah, we're in New Britain, and I believe we've been there ever since we were created.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So let's see what else we want to educate the people on about PURA 101. Let's take a look at the next group of slides.
Oh, okay. So this is just an example of an Eversource electric bill.
Right.
We do like to point out and encourage people to always double check who their supplier is.
Right.
So there is in Connecticut a third-party supplier market.
Okay.
So customers have the opportunity to choose who they want to get their generation from. So
Right.
in this case, you can see it says who your supplier is,
Yeah.
and then it breaks down the supply portion and the delivery portion of the bill. And I think there's some other slides that break that down.
I believe so.
But believe it or not, I will say one quick thing about the third-party supplier market, and we have
Yes.
some other information
Sure.
on it a little bit later. Some folks don't realize that, you know, they have a supplier.
Right.
And it's always a good idea to double check when you get your bill. You know, am I getting my supply from standard service from the electric company, or am I with a third-party supplier?
Right.
So, so this slide just kind of goes through the supply portion of your electric bill.
Okay.
So another point of education that we like to make sure folks understand, PURA does not regulate this part of the bill.
Okay.
So this is market driven, and really that's how we can have the choice for customers in the state of Connecticut. So the generation portion of electricity was deregulated, I believe, back in 1998.
Okay.
And so that's when we switched over to a market-based
Okay.
state. And the electric companies don't earn a profit on the standard service charge either.
Okay.
So the delivery side, this side we do have authority over, and we do watch very closely. This is really the cost that it takes to deliver that service to your house or to your place of business.
Okay.
So these are the three categories: transmission, distribution. So transmission, you could think of as, you know, the highway system.
Right.
And, you know, the poles and wires that you see. And then distribution are then the smaller poles and wires that are more like side roads.
Yes.
So this is how you get energy delivered to your home or place of business. Also included in delivery charge, or the delivery portion, are the public policy programs.
Okay.
So this is the portion of your bill that you pay that goes towards things like energy efficiency programs and programs that have been prescribed by the legislature and the state.
Would you mind sticking around for another segment?
Sure. Of
All right,
course.
we'll be right back. Come on in, come on in.
Welcome to Sure Things.
Welcome to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show.
Hello and welcome to Arts and Entertainment.
Cybersecurity experts at the Federal Trade Commission warn that bad actors can load malware onto public USB charging stations, locking your electronics or exporting personal information like passwords to a scammer's device. To prevent your phone or laptop from being attacked, they suggest using AC power outlets and your own USB cables. And if you plug your device into a USB port and are prompted to share data, trust this computer, or charge only, always select charge only. You can find more travel tips at bbb.org/travel.
Welcome back to this week's edition of the Pete Mezzetti Show. I'm Pete Mezzetti, sitting here with Taren O'Connor from PURA. Welcome back.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we talked a little bit about in the first segment, PURA, and we talked about electric rates, and you guys regulate all the electric companies. Now, do you guys also do the natural gas companies as well?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. And water as well.
Okay. And I'm sure there's differences in now. Obviously the rates are different between electric, gas, and water, correct? Or are they all one flat rate?
They do have differences, yeah. So it depends on who's before us, what kind
Okay.
of makes up the intricacies of that case.
Okay, let's take
So
Energize Connecticut.
yeah, so we talked a little bit before about the fact that we have a third-party supplier market in Connecticut, and
Right.
customers can choose who they get their supply from.
Right.
So we like to point out the Energize CT website and specifically the rate board.
Okay.
I do want to make a note of caution, though. There are several copycat sites out there. So if you're interested in looking at the rate board to kind of shop around and
Yep.
see what prices are out there, which I would certainly encourage, just really make sure that you type in www.energizect.com.
Okay.
And then you'll see the rate board. You can click on that, and it's very user-friendly. You can really just say whether you're an Eversource or United Illuminating customer, if you're a residential or commercial customer, and it'll bring up the rate board, and it's kept up to date, and you can see all the different offerings. So if you do want to choose to go with a third-party supplier,
Right.
that's where you would kind of shop around and do your homework as far as who you would want to choose.
I'm going to say we've got a rate board example right here.
Yep.
I believe.
So this is what the site looks like, and yeah, as I mentioned, you could just click on who your utility is and
Yep.
the type of account, and it'll just list all of the results in, with the real-time pricing. This example is showing Town Square Energy, and you can see the offer rate. So if standard service, so if you don't choose to go with a supplier, then your default service is with
Right.
your electric company, so that's standard service.
Okay.
Standard service changes twice a year,
Okay.
in January and July. So usually a good time if you want to consider going with a third-party supplier, a good time to check in on the rate board and check the prices
Yeah.
is typically about 45 days before those new standard service rates would go into effect.
Okay.
So this is actually good timing to remind folks, because November 15th is a great time to hop on the rate board and shop around and look at prices, because January 1st standard service rates will change.
They're going to go up or down, or who knows? That's
We'll see.
to be determined. That's to be determined, you might say. All right, so let's take a look at the next slide, please.
So this slide really just points out, the supplier market in Connecticut has, in terms of customers who take advantage of going with a third-party supplier, it has certainly grown. So you can see retail suppliers serve about 23% of Eversource customers and almost 17% of UI customers on the
Right.
residential side, and that was as of August. So again, it's a choice that customers have. There are certainly, there's an element of buyer beware. You're going to sign a contract with a third party, and so customers have a certain responsibility to that, and we always encourage folks to read the fine print and make sure you know what you're signing up for. But we have worked hard alongside the Office of Consumer Counsel and other folks like AARP over a number of years up in Hartford to put in place certain customer protections so that it's a safe place to shop around, and it's a market that keeps customers in mind in terms of protecting them. And I think the next slide might have, yeah. So we worked hard to help bring the market to a place where energy suppliers cannot, charge you a sign-up fee. They cannot charge an early termination fee. These are things that had been happening and no longer can happen. So it is, although we encourage, hey, read the fine print, we're in a much better place than we were a number of years ago when it comes to consumer protections around some of these contracts.
Okay.
And this is really just our customer services information and
All right.
contact info. Our website has all of this information, and we have a great team on our customer service side. So I would just remind folks that if they have a question about their bill, a concern, call us, email us, and we will do our best to help remedy your issue or answer your question. We also have a lot of frequently asked questions pages on our website, and it's searchable, so hopefully it's a good resource for folks if they are looking for further information.
Let's talk about total charges.
So this is just showing some of the charges
Oh, okay.
on your bill.
Gotcha.
We talked through some of the different
Yeah.
sides, yeah.
And
So
the-
this gets more into,
Gotcha. It gets more.
yeah, I think we're
in
going to
more-
end with the,
Gets.
Last slide,
Gets,
yeah.
Yeah, I believe that is the last slide, and that gets into.
yep, so really,
More
I would
detail.
just say, you know, pay attention to your bill, know who your supplier is, shop around if you want to. There's definitely opportunity to save money, but you do have to know what your contract says and the length of it and all that good stuff. And call PURA if you have any questions.
Now, as far as if people want to file a complaint with PURA, we said in the slide
Yep.
that you can email your complaint or email your issue. What are some of the most common issues that you guys deal with?
You know, high bill complaints is
Right.
one. We do our best to work with our partners throughout the state to help with hardship programs.
Okay.
And the utilities offer certain programs to folks who qualify for hardship. And that's another area where I would encourage people to educate themselves and know, you know, what's out there and what they might qualify for. So it depends on the time of year. Of course, if there's a rate increase, we get a lot of calls about that.
Right. Yeah.
But we do our best to you know, educate folks and explain things. And some of this stuff can be a little complicated. So really just talk people through what's happening. And if there is an issue that they can't get resolved with the company,
Right.
then we try our best to step in and help.
Now, as far as you mentioned something about, I believe I'm going to call it the rate reduction, or people that are on like a fixed income.
Yeah, so there are different programs depending on the utility.
Okay.
And there are different eligibility requirements as well, where, you know, there's some programs where the company will match a certain payment.
Oh, okay.
So there are opportunities out there to get assistance if you need it and if you qualify for it. So again, I would encourage people to call their utility and inquire about that if they feel like they need some help paying their bills.
Now, the utility company is pretty helpful when it comes to.
They are, and they have certain, you know, they want, I believe,
Right.
to help people be able to pay what they can and be able
Right.
to keep their balance down. So, yeah, they work very hard to implement those programs as best they can, and again, to educate their customers around what they have to offer.
And I'm sure you guys educate the public as well about what's going on with PURA
Yeah.
and the organization.
And again, our website is a great resource for that as well.
Now, what type of information can people find on the website?
Well, I think our website's actually come quite a long way, and that's because of our team, honestly. We have a lot of really smart and capable folks that work at PURA, and we've made a great effort to increase our content on the website. So anything from following a docket
Okay.
and really digging in, if you want to a proceeding, looking at what's on the record, looking at the procedural schedule in a docket, you can, like I said, you can access a lot of FAQ sheets, frequently asked
Yep.
questions about electric, gas, water. So I think it's a pretty good resource for the general public to hop on and look around. And there's also all the contact information as well.
Now, as far as filing a docket the form's pretty simple to fill out?
It is, yeah. It's very user-friendly if you wanted to file a comment in a proceeding. And like I said before, there's several ways in which you can do that. So you can email. We do not take comments over the phone because we need them to be a written record, so it can be part of our formal record.
Right.
But depending on the proceeding, some proceedings we offer public comment hearings in person. So that's another opportunity as well.
Now, the proceedings, how long do they normally take, or does it depend? Like, it depends on
It does. It
Depends on the
depends.
issue.
It depends on the issue. The rate cases are big ones
Okay.
that take typically the longest, and then we have some that are annual. We check in on certain programs each year, so it really depends.
And the website one more time before we say goodnight.
The website is www.ct.gov/PURA, PURA.
And all the information is on the website for people that want it, right?
That's right.
Cool. Taren O'Connor from PURA, thanks for some
Thank
time,
you
and
so
hopefully we'll
much,
see you again
Peter.
soon.
Thanks for having me.
You got it. On behalf of Taren, I'm Pete Mezzetti. Thanks, good night. We'll see you next time.